Hey, welcome to today's episode. So today we're going to be discussing the desire to want to give more in life, to be more loving, to be more kind to others, to just give from your heart, and in doing so to feel more at peace in life. And there's actually a question from the community about this. So the question is from Natalie, and I'm just going to read it here from my screen. It says, I feel at the end of my energy levels in this life, yet I want to give so much more to my loved ones and anyone that needs my warmth. How do I achieve this? And will this life provide me peace at the end of my travels? I'm so tired, but ready for this ultimately. So it's a great question, and I'm actually going to answer it by starting at the end with the statement or with the question, and will this life provide me peace at the end of my travels? And I'm going to begin by saying, and by the way, Natalie states that she feels at the end of her energy levels in this life, but this is for anyone regardless of how old you are, where you're at in life. In fact, if you can start with this earlier in life, the better for you. So, this is a very core part of the journey. And so I'd like to start at the end of the question, which Natalie says, will this provide me peace at the end of my travels, of my life? And what I would say to you, Natalie, and to anyone who's thinking in these terms, is that that's actually not the optimal way to be looking at it. And what I mean by that is when you're thinking, will doing something give me peace sometime in the future, the mind has got you in a trap that you're not aware of. And the trap is that I will be fulfilled later on in the future. But the reality is that fulfillment can only happen now. As long as you're looking at it as something that you're going to achieve in the future, you are caught up in an illusion of the mind that says, I will be happy when. I will be happy when. So you're essentially, unconsciously, through an unconscious assumption that's behind the surface, saying, well, I'm not going to be at peace now, but I will be when I do this or enough of this. But there's no need for that. You can experience the peace now. And in fact, I would venture to say that you can only be truly loving and kind and helpful to your family and friends and whoever you want to be if you're experiencing the peace now. It's not that doing this will give you peace later on. It's that getting in touch with the peace now will allow you to overflow and give more of this, which will then feed back more peace. So it's really actually the reverse, and it's very counterintuitive. So let me get a little more kind of deep into this. So the idea is that, well, I'll explain basically my own life, my own journey. So I've noticed many, many times now, it's become very, very clear to me that, for instance, in my relationship with my wife, it flows the best. I'm more kind, more loving, more patient, more compassionate when I am tapped into a higher state of consciousness, which can be called the state of peace. And then things just flow. My heart starts overflowing with love, and it naturally wants to pour out, and it's naturally more kind and more loving and more patient and so on. At other times, when I'm in a lower state of consciousness, when my shadow material is coming up, when there's some resistance coming up, when the ego, I'm believing the mind's thoughts, and the ego has got me, in this little hook, then I tend to be less patient. I tend to be more, sharp with my words. I tend to be less kind, less loving, more selfish, and so forth. Even though consciously my desire is to be loving, is to be kind, when I'm not tapped into that higher state of consciousness, it makes it much more difficult to do that. And so the idea is, I know it's natural to want to be loving, to want to be kind, but you'll always be swimming an uphill battle if you are looking to do that as a way for you to feel more peace, where in reality it's the reverse. You have to find a way, and I'll explain, how. You have to find a way to get in touch with the peace that is already within you, that doesn't need an external source, that doesn't need you to do so and so to achieve it in the future. You got to get in touch with that, tap into that, start living from that, and then the natural outcome is that you are more kind and more loving, which then pours even more peace into you and feels even more fulfilling. All right. So it really is actually the reverse of how most people tend to think of it and approach it, because the mind always has everything backwards. The mind's always putting fulfillment and peace and everything that you really want in the future. And it's saying, after I do this and this and this, I'll get it. That's always backwards. That's not how it really works. So the question then becomes, well, how do you feel that peace now? Right? And the answer is you have to go beyond the idea of the person that you are. All right? And this is the common theme that I'll always go back to over and over again. The only reason that right now you don't feel peace is that you believe yourself to be Natalie, or whoever else is watching. You believe yourself to be the person that you think you are with a specific history and so forth. Now that sounds obvious, and that sounds like, well, obviously I'm that person. Who else could I be? But the realization comes that that person is only a small aspect of what you truly are. So true peace comes when you start realizing what your true identity is beyond the person. And it's really not something that's like this esoteric concept or something that, is shrouded in mystery like spirituality in general makes it seem. It's actually really simple. Right now, if I were to ask you to pretend that there is no time, there's no past, and there's no future, and you have no history. So you cannot refer to thought to know who you are, right? You can't go to thought, you can't go to memory to tell me who you are, all right? And if you were to become very still and just drop everything, even your name, the notion of who you are, the problems in your life situation, just put it aside for a moment. You can always pick it back up when we're done, don't worry, all right? So just put it aside. And if all of that is put aside for a moment, and there's just silence momentarily within you, momentarily, this isn't about forever, just right now, who are you? Are you really this person that you think you are? Or does the person only come to life through thought? Am I really Ziad? Or does Ziad only come online when I think about my identity as Ziad, and I remember the history of Ziad and the future of Ziad and what current life situation Ziad has? But right now, if I go into pure silence and I'm just feeling the senses and I'm just seeing what's around me and I'm looking around and I'm hearing and I'm sensing my body, both externally, what it feels like, and internally, where's Ziad? There's just a body. Yeah, it's here. And there are senses operating. Yeah. Everything is happening. And behind the happening, there is some sort of existence. Something is aware of all this. Now, the mind always assumes, well, yeah, Ziad, I'm aware of all this. But is that true? If right now I got complete amnesia and I forgot all my entire personal history and I was lost somewhere and I didn't know anyone, who would I really be? Where is that person then? It's just a concept. It's an idea in the mind. The body, fine, it's here. The body sure has a history, but that doesn't mean that's who you are. The body is a sensing mechanism. It's an experiencing instrument that you are using. The you that's using it is consciousness. Now, what does consciousness mean? That seems like some kind of esoteric term. It's presence. You are this awareness that's aware of the body, that's aware of the senses, and here's where it gets beautiful, that's aware of itself as awareness. You can, if you go into silence, first you can start with the senses to open up the portal. Start with the senses. As you start with the senses, as you focus, for instance, on the inner body, or you focus on just sound only, the mind gets very still, because you can't be fully focused on a sense perception, on sound, or the feeling of aliveness inside your body, or anything, or the breath. You can't be really focused on it and still be thinking. So when you become silent like this internally, and then you start feeling yourself as awareness, as the one, the formless one, not the conceptual one inside your mind, just as this, whatever it is that is existing, that is right now. I am right now. I am. Beyond the body, there is something that is aware, and it can be aware that it's aware. Not as something conceptual, but literally as a felt experience. Literally feel it. You can do it right now. Feel, sense the fact that you exist. And that you know that you exist beyond thought. You just feel the aliveness. If you do this, if you try this practice of feeling the I amness, literally that sense of I am, if you're finding it hard to get in touch with it, you can ask yourself, what am I? Or you can ask yourself, am I? Do I exist right now? And it's obvious, it's intuitive, right? And if you just stay with that, and you don't try to hold on to it through focus, but stay with it through more of a lighthearted, state of wonder, wow, here's a sense of aliveness in the body and beyond the body. And it's aware. And it's aware even of itself being aware. And if you can just stay with that, and if thoughts come, it's okay. You notice that it's aware of the thoughts. The thoughts are not you. And the thoughts have this magnetic quality to them. They want to suck you in. They want to amplify themselves. They want to, make themselves larger and larger. And that's part of their quality. And they make it feel like it's so important to think this thought in this very moment. But it never really is. So you got to start kind of paying attention to that seductive quality of them. Just say, all right, I'll think about you later. And just kind of go back to that silence, that stillness, the feeling of I am. Not I am what, not I am who, just I am. That's it. And if you can do that, and this is a practice, it takes practice. The mind will try to trip you up, but it takes practice. If you keep it lighthearted, if you keep it a practice that is enjoyable, that is just state of wonder, I wonder what I'm going to find, it makes it much easier than trying to achieve something. So if you try this practice, what you'll find is that there is a joy and a peace, a deep joy and a deep peace in the very sense I am, in the very sense that you just exist. The awareness that you are, that is formless, it doesn't have form, you can't see it or touch it, but you can experience it, by its very nature is just peace, is joy. Why? I don't know. That's just who we are, thankfully. Right? And so if you experience that, you'll start feeling more and more peace. And the more you practice this every day, as many times as you can, the more you'll start feeling the joy and peace of being beyond the mind. Now, the beautiful thing is that when you do this, and as you do this more and more, something starts to open up in your heart, right here in your heart center. And all of a sudden, this joy and this peace starts to overflow out of you as love. You just feel better. You naturally want to be kinder. You naturally want to be more loving. That's just the nature of it. And all of a sudden, Your desire to be more loving, to be more kind, to do more for others, to show more warmth, stops coming from a state of lack, a state of feeling that you're not worthy enough unless you do more, that you need to be more loving if you want to become peaceful. Instead, it starts overflowing from a place of fullness. You are full from within, and so you want to give. Naturally, it outpours. And this doesn't mean that you have to feel this state of fullness all the time, and if you don't, you failed. No, right? At times, I'm feeling this state of fullness and love overflows. At other times, there's resistance occurring. That doesn't mean that what was happening a few hours ago is worthless or all lost now. It just means some stuff is coming up now, and at this very moment I have a choice. Do I want to identify with this larger awareness that I am, or do I want to get sucked into the mind's thoughts and believe that I'm failing or I'm regressing? It's always a choice in this moment. There is never this idea of, oh, now I have it and here I am and I'm always loving and kind. Those are all ideas of the mind that set up ideas of perfection and high standards that then we judge ourselves upon, and we become critical of ourselves, and it's all just games of the mind. Just always be in now. Drop whatever happened 5 years ago, 5 seconds ago. It's irrelevant. In now. If you were in a bad mood, can you be in peace now? And if you are, that love will overflow. And so it's always just about now, about doing it now. And the more you can do it, the more love will overflow, and that'll be the natural thing. And there you go. Then you are already at peace. You don't have to wait till the end of your life to be at peace. And you're already showing more love naturally without really trying. Being more patient and kind and warm without really trying. And that's felt. And that awakens other people too, because you're not coming from a place of, I need to do this for others so my life will mean something. All ideas of the mind are already, your life already means infinitely more than you know, regardless of what you have or haven't done. But you can experience that fullness and start to express it. And that is a beautiful life lived. And that is a beautiful moment lived, even if it's just one moment. But then it tends to feel so good that you want to do it more and more and more. And so please try that. I hope this makes sense. If you have any questions that need clarification, anyone listening or watching this, please leave comments below. You can always shoot questions to support@soulhub.com and just put in the subject either YouTube or podcast questions, depending on where you're watching or listening this to. And I hope it helps. Thank you so much, and I'll see you next time.